Hi, I'm Beth Brown Limmer. I'm the president of Vermont Covered Bridge Society. And today we are doing our fourth podcast here at the Okemo Valley TV studio. And I have two guests with me today. Mooney Shorey, who is from the 4-H, and Mark Maddox, who is back with us to talk about his affiliation with the Okemo Valley Chamber of Commerce. So this is entitled Collaborating with the Vermont Covered Bridge Society. And of course, people know that a collaboration is two agencies or entities working together towards a shared goal. And we have been fortunate at the Vermont Covered Bridge Society in the last couple of years to have two really great collaborators, and we're going to talk about those today. So the first one is the Vermont 4-H. And Vermont 4-H was actually 4-H as a total national entity was begun in 1902. And it emphasizes citizenship, leadership, life responsibility through life goals. And of course, the 4 H's stand for heart, head, health, and hands. Right. Okay. Thank you, Mooney. And so we're really fortunate here in Vermont that we have 4-H youth from ages 5 to 18. And last year we had over 5,000 participants in 2024. In 4-H in Vermont, and 1,000 of those, nearly 1,000, belong to 4-H clubs. So National 4-H Week is in October, and State Day, which Mooney is going to be talking about, was just held in Barre on the 17th of May. So Mooney is going to talk about what his role is as a county educator. He has the Rutland County and the Bennington County that are his responsibilities. There's a number of educators in Vermont. Each county has educator. Some educators share 2 counties, but we have a couple counties that there's an educator just for that county. So if you would talk to us a little bit about your background, Mooney, and how it is that you landed where you are.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here today. Yeah, I started in 4-H. How it started was my nephew was asked to join a performance art club. And I think people are like, whoa, for 4-H? Because most people have it that it's agriculture, or that I'm going to be handing their kid a chicken and sending it home. And while you did say we do have a deep history with agriculture, it's just to get the kids in the door and have the spark. And then we can introduce them to the values that we want to give them and help enrich them within 4-H. Mm-hmm. So my nephew joined in Rutland a performance art club, and I was there kind of helping out. And then through that, I had done work and been on the board of and helped start Rutland County Pride Center. Mm-hmm. And so they had openings on the Rutland County 4-H Foundation Board and asked if I would join that. Mm-hmm. So I joined the Rutland County 4-H Foundation. And then last year, and I think that we had met, the educator had left, and they needed someone to just step in. And there was a opening for 3 weeks to help with the fair. And I was like, oh, well, that sounds fun. Let me hop in. And from that, I went into the interim role as the county educator, and then in December I became got the full-time position.
Right. So how Vermont Covered Bridge Society got first involved with the 4-H is we have a member that actually, they live in New Jersey, but they wanted to know if we were going to be doing anything with youth and youth enhancement. And of course, we have to understand that, that's part of our legacy. We need to try to get the youth involved with covered bridges, because they're going to be the ones that are going to be taking care of these covered bridges in 40, 50, 75 years from now. So actually at the Rutland Fair in August of 2023, these folks came up from Jersey, and we went over and met several of the educators and leaders of 4-H at the big, huge 4-H building there on the Rutland Fairgrounds. and had a conversation about how it is we could collaborate and work together. And so this has been about 2 years in the making. And then I did go to the Rutland Foundation meeting last September and really kind of try to hammer out how it is that covered bridges could be infused into the 4-H program. So tell us, Mooney, how that happened and what it was, the process.
Yeah, well, we wanted to celebrate the 25 years and to bring attention to the great work that you guys are doing. So what we have, it's called Regional Day, and it happens throughout the state of Vermont. And it is a day where club members compete in presentation and communication skills. So think of the tabletops. Think of public speaking, demonstration. So we offered throughout all of the regionals in the state a covered bridge contest. Come up with a way to talk about your interest, love, or history of covered bridges. And we let it up to them. It could be a speech. They could have built a replica to show. They could do many different things. And just
photographs, I think, was one of
yes,
them. Yeah.
absolutely. Mm-hmm. Photographs, posters.
Yeah.
And so kind of keeping it open for the interpretation, not putting too many parameters on doing it. So that's how we started with the collaboration to give the kids the opportunity.
Right. Understanding that, of course, the children have free reign to choose what it is that they want to do a presentation or a project on.
Yes.
Right, right.
Because it's all about initiating that spark. And we don't want to force anything.
Right.
We want to find what in them is going to build that interest and be able to have a commitment in the long term.
For sure, for sure. All right. And so then it proceeded from regional to state day. And state day was just, as I said, on the 17th of May.
Yeah, and Barry Auditorium.
In Barry Auditorium. And so as part of that, the assistant 4-H director for the state, Amy Miller, asked if we could send from the Vermont Covered Bridge Society a couple of judges, evaluators for the projects that day. And so our education committee chairperson, Jean Beaudry from Derby, went, and one of her committee members, education committee members, Joe Mitchell, who actually lives in Schenectady, but it's his folks that were the original folks that were instrumental in getting this off the ground. And so they both went and they had a wonderful day. So what is the role of an educator during State Day, Mooney?
Well, we're all kind of doing different things. We all take on different tasks. There's getting the exhibits up, making sure there's enough tables for those tabletops, making sure the rooms. I was helping with setup, and then I actually judged that day.
Oh.
So I was doing some judging. Other people are in the judging room because every discipline that they are competing in has its own rubric. So the judge goes through it and it's meeting up. Did they meet this? Did they meet that? With 4-H, it's done under the Danish system. So what it is that they're only against themselves and what is being asked. It's not going to be first, second, third, fourth. Everybody could be first. It could be all blue ribbons.
I see.
So it goes blue, red, or white. White would mean that you didn't quite meet the objective. Red meant that you meet the objective, and blue is that you went over the top and that you are at an advanced level. So we are just basing that. So there could be no blue ribbons or there could be all blue ribbons.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So during that day, the judges would go up, and some of them, we like to have like 2 judges for most, especially a state day, to give the perspective of like not just one person, that the kids can see the feedback from 2 different people and see how what is similar, what is different, what did one person pick up and maybe not the other, and then it's scored, and then that then is ranked, and each one is very different. I know with posters and photos, I believe with photos it's the top 3, and posters it's the top 5 will go on to the Big E. And to give a little bit of reference, we would start at Regional Day, which would be like your local 4-H, like we have the one in Rutland County, and that you score well there in different field, and then you move on to state day. And then if you do well at state day, you get the invitation to go and exhibit at the Big E, which is in September in Massachusetts, where all of the New England states get together to show the best of the best.
Yes, West Springfield, Massachusetts is definitely the place to be for the Big E.
Yes.
18 days of exposition down there.
I do 3 and it is enough.
Yeah. And, you know, the avenue of states that is down there, and
so
each
cool.
of the New England states has a building. So there's a Vermont building, a New Hampshire
And it's
building.
all based
Maine
on their
building.
Capitol building.
Exactly. And so it's a fabulous place. But in the meantime, there's regional fairs that you folks are going to be doing all over the state, correct?
Correct. And I have I think the honor to do the Vermont State Fair in Rutland County. So each educator, if you have a fair, you would write the premium, which is kind of the rule book for what the kids are and what the difference between a fair and what we say like a regional day. And we're kind of doing with a different branding that regional is like, what's the difference between a regional and a fair? Well, regional day really is the ladder to get to states and to get to be able to go to the Big E. And we're really looking at communication skills.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at presentation skills, really getting, as I have seen even now, we're getting further and further away from like public speaking and being able to articulate. And I even had a younger coworker that didn't know how to pick up a phone, didn't know like that. So we're really encouraging the kids. And public speaking is hard. It's always been hard. But now with texting and kind of being behind computers, we're seeing like less of that. So I really want to inspire kids. And it's so great for confidence.
Right.
I've seen there's one club member this year that was like shaking at the beginning to do it. And now she's going to be going to states and is like
Great.
Rocking and rolling. And that is like what we like to see.
Exactly. That's so rewarding, I'm sure, for you folks to see that kind of maturation process happen before your eyes.
And the growth.
Yes, absolutely. So,
so a fair would be the sewing, that would be the arts and crafts, where really a regional day is just the communication skills.
Yeah, I see. And so the premium book now, that's money that they get?
Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
that's always a motivator.
Yeah, it has a lot. Yeah, very much, where everything they enter, depending on, like I said before, the white, red, or blue, gives a denomination of money they would get.
Right.
And it can add up fast.
Absolutely. So, and the Rutland Fair, for people that don't know, I grew up in Castleton, and so we went to the Rutland Fair every year. But the Rutland Fair is coming back. You know, It went through a little bit of a slump, and now in the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years, it's growing, and the attendance is really
I think
fabulous.
Rutland in general, where there's a renaissance happening.
Yeah. So, okay, well, we'll be there with the Vermont Covered Bridge booth, and we're in the Vermont building. Where else? You know, on the other side, opposite side of the fairgrounds from you folks, but. So anyway, that's great.
And there's new renovations happening this year. I'm happy to announce we will be reopening the second floor of the 4-H building. We're having a lift put in for handicap.
Oh, nice.
We'll have some more Fish and Wildlife is going to come and join us, also with the Farm Museum.
Oh, good.
So hopefully it'll be much more active, and we're not just the pretty white building on the hill.
Oh, right. And it's such a fabulous building. I can remember going there as a child, and my grandmother always would look at that building for hours because, you know, she would enter her jams and her jellies and her pies and her vegetables and all those kinds of things. So, yeah, that'd be great to have more exhibits and more people and use that beautiful building.
And we're always looking for volunteers and club members and like people that want to start clubs. Like we had talked before, where even when I'm new to the role, there was only 2 clubs in Bennington, and I can say now we have 4.
Absolutely.
And keep growing. And we're always open to what are kids interested in? What is it doing? And like, while 4-H and in general, math and STEM and promoting that is super important. I think in Vermont, it's important that we have these rich resources with farming and agriculture. And I don't want them to disappear. When you cut down a redwood, you don't get another one. You get a sapling.
Yeah.
So we have to look at these, and I love it. And like the horses and the cows and.
Well, I think it's a great partnership with the Vermont Covered Bridge
Yes.
Society, and we have been invited to come back next year and be evaluators at the state day, and both Jeannie and Joe said, oh, absolutely, they'd love to do that. They had a blast. And then the other thing that we're hoping to stand up between 4-H and Vermont Covered Bridge Society is one of your spin programs, which is a 6-hour program on a concentrated topic, which would be obviously covered bridges. And it's separated into 3 separate days, I believe, 2-hour sessions.
Yeah, it's kind of open. A lot of it comes that it's the 6 hours.
Yes.
It's the, yeah.
And it's like the babysitter course is now. And so it would be, didactic and interactive, but also on the last day probably would be a matter of field trip. And we'll go to some covered bridges and do some things. And so we're hoping that will come to fruition in the next year, a couple years. And
Would love to see that happen.
yeah, so. All right, so that's one of our great collaborations that we're developing all the time. And the second one that we're talking about today is the collaboration that we have had for the last year with the Okemo Valley Regional Chamber of Commerce. And for people that are not familiar, this is the region in Ludlow. There's 12 towns that this chamber advocates for, the businesses in there. We are a nonprofit member, naturally, and there's about 25% of their membership. Carol Lighthall is the director, and she tells me about 25% of their membership is nonprofit organizations. We joined last May, and we have done a number of things with the chamber, and Mark is here because Mark is one of the fellows that lives down this way, and they have a mixer, a monthly mixer the chamber does, and Mark has been to every one of them except for one. Yes. And so Mark's going to talk about his, and I've been to a couple, 3, but certainly Mark is much more versed, and so if you could take it away here, Mark, and tell us what you know about the chamber.
Sure. So when we joined, the first event we did was the Best of Vermont here in Ludlow, where we had the booth for the Vermont Covered Bridges, selling some of our merchandise and informing people about Vermont's covered bridges. And then, as Beth mentioned, I've been going to their monthly mixers. They have it pretty much once a month. I think there was one that didn't happen and then one that I missed. So regardless of the weather, I tend to show up since I'm not too far from Ludlow and can make it down there. At the mixers, it's a mixer. So you get together, you talk with people about their businesses. They're held in chamber businesses. It could be art gallery, it could be a real estate office. We've had several down the road in Chester at Maple Syrup Company. So it's just various, and you usually get some really nice goodies at the Grafton Cheese Factory. We went to the Proctorsville store, and they had some great cheese sandwiches. So it gives you a chance to mingle with other people, talk with them. Invariably, when people find out I'm with the Vermont Covered Bridge Society, it's like, how many covered bridges are there in Vermont? So I get to go into our spiel about the differences between historic and authentic, and then traditional covered bridges. And so it's kind of fun to be able to talk to people about covered bridges. Sometimes you come across as kind of a covered bridge geek, but that can be kind of fun.
Well, they identify you as the covered bridge guy now.
Yes, yes, I am the covered bridge guy. Those that have met me before.
Yeah.
But this last winter, Okemo Valley did a Christmas train, the Holiday Express, and I said, sure, I'll volunteer to work that. And I had just had surgery, And so I had the best job, I think, on the train. I was Santa's helper elf. This is a photo of myself and Carol, the executive director. We're taking a break in the train car. But I followed Santa around and handed out the Christmas ornaments to the kids. And the kids really, really loved it. Of course, they love seeing Santa. But I think we did 7 trains on Saturday and 6 on Sunday. There were 1-hour trips.
And the ridership was?
It was 2,300, I think.
Yeah, north of 2,000 people.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was
from all over New England that they came.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes. It was really a lot of fun to just be on that, even though the weather was extremely cold and some of the cars weren't well heated.
Right. And at the mixer that we had last week at the Fox Run golf course, they handed out recognition certificates.
So we all of us who volunteered got an award, which was kind of nice to recognize what we've done. Coming up this year will be again the Best of Vermont, and I'm hoping to be able to volunteer there because I don't think we're going to have a booth. We've got so much going on with the 25th year celebration.
The Vermont Covered Bridge Week. Yes, but this is, it's actually going to be the 23rd and 24th of August, the Best of Vermont Festival here in Ludlow. And it is a fabulous, I don't know, I think they had north of, I want to say 300 exhibitors last year. So it's a big deal for sure. And so that's one of the things, the benefits that we got as being a member, is we got a reduced rate on the vendor booth price. But some of the other benefits that we get is, they make a magazine, they just publish a magazine twice a year, and this is the most recent issue, and there is an article in here about covered bridges, and it features the Downers Covered Bridge in Wethersfield and the Kidder Hill Covered Bridge in Grafton. So those are 2 of the towns, the 12 towns that the chamber covers. And so that's good to have an article about the covered bridges in this area, so people pick up the magazine, they say, oh, well, let's go see some of these covered bridges while we're here. And we, of course, are listed in the back under the member directory. We're on the website. They have a very highly trafficked website, and we have a banner ad there. And some of the other benefits that we have gotten from being a chamber member and having that collaboration is to have the support of the chamber. They came to the Kingsley Covered Bridge. The Kingsley Covered Bridge was closed for 13 months, was reopened last 3rd of July to traffic, but on the 25th of July, we had a community celebration at the bridge that was stood up by the Vermont Covered Bridge Society, the town of Clarendon, the community members that live close to the bridge, and Okemo Valley Regional Chamber of Commerce came. The Rutland County Chamber of Commerce also came, and we had a ribbon cutting. We had a ribbon cutting on one end of the bridge, the north end, towards the airport, and then we walked through the bridge and had a ribbon cutting on the south side of the bridge. So we had actually 2 ribbon cuttings, and it was highly attended. There was between 80 and 100 people there, and we had hamburgers and hot dogs and food and drink, and it was a wonderful thing. And the town of Clarendon, because of that celebration that we had, is also on board with our Vermont Covered Bridge Week. So last time we talked about the fact that the governor of Vermont has declared the 2nd of August to the 9th of August is Covered Bridge Week in Vermont. And after that happened, and I read the proclamation last time, and I won't read it again today, but we have had a banner designed, and we are selling the banners to the towns at a reduced rate. The Vermont Covered Bridge Society is defraying the cost of the design, delivery, and a little bit of the cost of the banner. But that's not our mission. Our mission is to preserve covered bridges in Vermont, so not to celebrate ourselves or even covered bridges. But the towns have gotten on board with buying these banners, and they're going to put them on either their covered bridge. Some people are going to put them in their green, on their town green for that week. Some people are putting them on their municipal building in their town to make people aware and tourists aware that it's Covered Bridge Week in Vermont. And we have a number of activities and events that are in the planning stage that are going to happen all over the state. And I will go into much more detail in our July podcast about what's happening where, what time, all that. We'll have that all nailed down by then. And so anyway, I think we will show you the banner. And if there's anyone watching that would like to have one of the banners for their town, you can contact the Vermont Covered Bridge Society at gmail.com. And that is our main email. And Mark monitors that on a daily basis. And we'd be happy to have you jump on board with that. Is there anything else that we need to talk about?
No, check out 4-H at the UVM extension online. And moonshine.shorey at uvm.edu if you'd like to find out more information on 4-H and Rutland, Bennington, or any place in Vermont.
Right. And the Okemo Valley website is yourplaceinvermont.com. That is their website. Okay.
Great.
Thank you.